Hello, this is Carrie Steele. I wanted to talk about my aging interview that I did for our class. So the subject of my interview is named Patty. She is 71 years old. She was an average build and height for a woman her age. We met last month on the 18th at Patty's home around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She appeared in good spirits and good health during the interview. She does have some difficulty with movement with her leg. Other than that, she doesn't have any major health issues. She is mentally sharp and very much able to articulate her responses with me during the interview. So starting out, Patty was born in Los Angeles. Her parents were originally from Iowa, and she was the firstborn in her family after they moved to California, as her older siblings were born prior to moving to California. So she's the middle child. She has 5 brothers and 4 sisters. She was raised in a Catholic home, and religion was an important part of her upbringing. Not only did they attend church, but they also all went to Catholic school as well. Patty got many of her values about family and life from her Catholic upbringing. So Patty's parents were originally farmers in Iowa before they moved to California. After that, her father became a truck driver, and her mother was a stay-at-home mom. Both of Patty's parents met in high school. They grew up in a small town. Her dad had plans to go to college, however, was never able to see that realized in his life. Patty feels like many of the people in her family have a strong math and engineering type of brain. In fact, when Patty took a math test in college, she was told she had the highest score of any woman in the school at that time. 2 of her brothers actually did go on to become engineers as well. Patty's close to some of her siblings. Her sister, who's 18 months older than her, is very close with her. Patty is not close with her mother. She talked about a lot of physical abuse that occurred with her mom growing up. She is, however, close with her father. Patty feels she's able to get along better with men overall than women, and she feels she can trust men more than women. Patty was able to identify during the interview that some of the relational issues that she has with women and her inability to trust women may be rooted in some of the conflict that she has with her mother from her upbringing. Another traumatic thing that happened when Patty was growing up is she found out she had polio. She was starting to faint often for no reason, so they took her to the hospital, and in the 8th grade found out that she had that. After having an operation for it, she has not had any health problems since. Patty enjoyed school and liked attending. She attended a Catholic school growing up. She also went on to go to college. One of the only things she could mention as a regret was that she didn't go further in college. Work and career always came easy to Patty as well. Her first job was in college when she worked at a candy store. She did so well there that she was able to move up to being an assistant manager at that company. She said there was never really a time that she had any difficulty with unemployment. When she did quit working, it was by choice in order to be with her kids. Even when her kids were in school, she worked driving the school bus. She's always worked throughout her life and never had any difficulty with keeping or obtaining employment. She always enjoyed working in the community. As far as marital relations, Patty was married at the age of 23 and stayed married to the same man for 40 years until she became a widow. On September 9th, 2001, Patty's husband passed away of a heart attack. Obviously, 9/11 happened shortly thereafter, which made this loss even more difficult, as many family members were not able to come visit due to the flying restrictions at that time. Another traumatic event that happened while Patty was younger was the death of President Kennedy. She recalls this being a very stressful time, hearing about that as well. Patty had 3 children: Linda, who's age 40, David, who's 49, and Ted, who's 51. All of her children who have had children as well have raised them in the Catholic Church and have a strong moral background, such that Patty does also. Patty says that having children helped her and her husband to stay together as well, as they shared a common interest in caring for the children's well-being throughout their marriage. Some of Patty's children have gone on to marry as well, although they have had different experiences in marriage, as her daughter Linda has been married and divorced, and her son David was also married and divorced. Her son Ted has never married. Both her sons David and Ted were born blind. Raising two kids with disabilities was an important thing in Patty's life. She made sure that all her kids were able to cook and care for themselves at a young age. Independence was very important to her, especially with having kids that have a disability. She made sure that her two sons who were blind had the same opportunities that other children do in their life. She was able to send her boys to Brophy, which is a very distinguished private Catholic school in Phoenix, which is also where she sent her daughter Linda to school as well. When asked about her values relating to child rearing, Patty talked about her concerns about how a lot of families now are raising their kids without any moral background. She feels that many kids get into trouble because they don't have a clear sense of right or wrong. Raising two children with disabilities also made Patty a strong advocate for those who are disabled. Independence is a strong theme for Patty and for upbringing of children. Patty was able to experience some good times with her husband before his passing, which she now also looks back on fondly. She retired at the age of 60 and was able to spend her retirement with him. They traveled a lot during that year prior to him passing away. When Patty was asked what she's most proud of in her life, she quickly responds that she's most proud of raising children that are accomplished, independent, caring, and have strong morals. When asked for advice to the younger generation, her advice would be to be sure you are doing what you want to do and do not delay doing something because other people think you shouldn't. You should make your own decisions as you go along in life. So Patty appears to have approached the stage of later adulthood with a sense of integrity and pride in her accomplishments. And this correlates with stage 8 in the final stage of Erikson's psychosocial model. Although Patty does talk about some regrets regarding education overall, she does have a good sense of well-being in her life. Throughout this interview, it has been fascinating to see how Patty's early upbringing shaped how she raised her children, as well as how they subsequently raised their own children, her grandchildren. One generational theme or pattern that can be seen in this family is the strong moral values from being raised Catholic, a strong commitment to quality education, and independence. Some of the traumatic events experienced by Patty have also shaped how she has developed throughout the lifespan. Again, as mentioned before, her hesitancy to trust other women could have been shaped by some of the abusive experiences with her mother. Also, the trauma of the death of her husband also manifested later in life. As she talked throughout the interview, her son later had a heart attack as well, and that made her worry that he would pass away, much like her husband did. Overall, Patty represents an individual who has been able to go through the developmental lifespan in a way that has allowed her to go into later adulthood in the aging process with grace and pride, looking back at the life she has lived. That's it for me. Thank you for your time.